Welcome into another video. This time we're going to go over my predictions for the 2023 NFL playoffs. First, let's start with the AFC as the number 2 seed Bills take on the 7th seed Dolphins. This big question that's surrounding this entire matchup for me is whether or not Tua will be available for this game, and if he is, will there be an uproar for him starting an NFL game less than 3 weeks after suffering his second documented concussion? Many would argue it's kind of his third, even though they're not saying, but that's a story for a different time. I'm going to say that there is no way that the Dolphins can start Tua in this game. They would be under so much scrutiny for this. That means Skylar Thompson should be the quarterback, and he isn't even close to the talent level that Tua is. It's believed that Teddy Bridgewater, he has a broken finger on his right hand, and he should be considered as the backup in this game. The Bills have a stout defense, but they can be vulnerable from time to time in the secondary as they rank number 15 in pass defense. Unfortunately, without Tua in the mix, it will be difficult to fully utilize Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle against the Bills. I see Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs having the clear advantage in the passing game, which is key due to the tough run defenses on both sides. I see the Bills winning this one in Buffalo easily. The next game we're going to go over will be the number 3 seed Bengals taking on the number 6 seed Chargers. I would say the biggest question I have in this game would be the passing game of the Bengals. If the Bengals can hold their own against the 7th ranked pass defense, they should easily win this game. Joe Mixon will surely do his thing on the ground against this defense. The key to the game will be Austin Eckler. He won't have much running room against this defense, so Justin Herbert's arm was going to have to carry this game for the Chargers. Overall, I just don't think the Chargers can keep up with the defending AFC champion Bengals, as I see Joe Burrow and company moving on to the next round. The last first round game for the AFC will be the 4th seed Jaguars taking on the 5th seed Ravens. I have 2 big questions for this game. Number 1, will Lamar Jackson play? And number 2, will Trevor Lawrence be able to handle the hype with his first ever playoff game? Now, on paper, the Ravens beat the Jaguars in every defensive category pretty much on the screen. But I see something happening with this Jaguars team. I think they have hit their stride and developed a moxie about them. Trevor Lawrence has his team pumping on all cylinders. I'm not sure if Lamar Jackson plays, but whether he plays or not, I still see the Jaguars being too much to handle in this passing game for the Ravens defense. I see Trevor Lawrence showing out for his team and leading them to the first ever playoff win. Now let's look at the big board. I have the Jaguars advancing to take on the Chiefs in the second round, and I have the Bills taking the Bengals on in the second round of the AFC playoffs. Now let's talk about the number 1 seed, the Chiefs, taking on the number 4 seed, Jaguars. The biggest question in this game is whether or not having Patrick Mahomes doing everything for this team just be too much to overcome for the playoffs. During the regular season, you have to see Mahomes just put the entire team on his back just to win games. Rookie running back Isaiah Pacheco has done well, but overall the run game just isn't there. In my scenario, the Chiefs get an easier matchup against the Jags than if the Ravens would have won last round. I love what Trevor Lawrence is doing thus far this season, but I don't think they're ready to match up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think you see 2 touchdowns from that Mahomes-Kelsey combo, and they roll in Kansas City for an easy win, as we see the Kansas City Chiefs advance to the AFC Championship game. In the other game, we have the 2nd seed Bills taking on the 3rd seed Bengals. This should be a heck of a matchup. You should see fireworks going off here with tons of points being scored. We pretty much saw a single drive from each team in their Week 17 matchup before that horrific accident happened on the field with Damar Hamlin. Now, my prayers are definitely still with him and his family as he's still recovering, and as of today that I'm recording, I heard that he is now back home with his family in Buffalo. But Josh Allen and Joe Burrow will be letting it all out on the line here, and I do believe that the Bills will be able to handle the Bengals here. I believe the Bills will be playing for Damar Hamlin, and I also believe that the Bills secondary will be just good enough to hold on for this victory as we see the Buffalo Bills advance to the AFC Championship game. Now we have it, the AFC Championship game, as the winner here gets a ticket to the Super Bowl. We have the number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs taking on the number 2 seed Buffalo Bills. If you remember what my question was when the Chiefs played the Jaguars in the last round, I said that I wanted to know if Patrick Mahomes could keep putting his team on his back without being able to establish that run game. Well, this is the matchup right here from 2 seasons ago where the Chiefs beat the Bills 38-24 with Tyreek Hill having 9 receptions for 172 yards. Well, Tyreek Hill is no longer there, and I believe this gives a massive advantage to the Bills. I believe that the Chiefs will truly feel the absence of Tyreek Hill for the first time this season. On the other hand, I see Josh Allen taking advantage of having a weapon like Stephon Diggs in a very close matchup as we see the Buffalo Bills advance to the Super Bowl. Now let's go ahead and switch over to the NFC as we have the 2nd seed 49ers taking on the 7th seed Seahawks. A big question I have here is how is Brock Purdy responding into a playoff game as the number 2 seed? Now, will the moment be too big for him? Or is he going to grasp this opportunity by the gooch and just make it be known that he is going to be the long-term answer for the 49ers at quarterback? On the other side of the football, we've got Geno Smith, a once thought bust from his time with the Jets, but now producing as one of the best quarterbacks in the season. This game's going to have to be decided for the Seahawks with Geno's arm because the 2nd-ranked rush defense for the 49ers, it just looks like it's going to be a little bit too skinny on the ground. They're not going to be able to do much. So these teams have met twice thus far this season. In the first game, the leading rusher had 15 yards. The second game, the leading rusher for the Seahawks had 47 yards. This simply just won't get it done in the playoffs. I see the 49ers easily cruising past the Seahawks in the first round. Now the next game we're going to go over here is going to be the 3rd seed Vikings taking on the 6th seed Giants. My question here is whether or not Daniel Jones will be able to keep pace with Kirk Cousins in the points category. Justin Jefferson has been on a complete tear in the NFL, and I believe they're sprinting into the playoffs playing solid football. The only thing that the Giants have going for them is Saquon Barkley, and even he has been having kind of a rough couple of weeks here lately. There isn't much I really want to say about this matchup. I actually really just don't see this game very close. I mean, the Vikings defeated the Giants back in week 16, 27-24, and as long as they can keep Saquon Barkley in check, the Vikings should be able to take care of business at home against the Giants and move on to the next round. The last first round game for the NFC is going to be the 4th seeded Bucks taking on the 5th seeded Cowboys. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying here. The Bucks have definitely not looked good this season, but who in their right mind would be able to pick the Cowboys in this matchup after watching them get trounced last week against the Commanders? I mean, Dak Prescott looks like utter garbage. I mean, caca-poo-poo here, and the team doesn't look good at all. Tom Brady will have his team ready to play, and they should be able to embarrass the Cowboys. Brady's experience alone should be enough to get the Bucks into the next round. Dak Prescott has thrown at least 1 interception in the last 7 weeks, and this cannot happen in the playoffs. I have the Bucks advancing to round 2. Now let's look at the big board. I have the Bucks advancing to take on the Eagles in the 2nd round, and the 49ers taking on the Vikings in the 2nd round of the NFC playoffs. Now let's talk about the number 1 seed Eagles taking on the 4th seed Bucks. This is definitely a game that I'm looking forward to. The Eagles are a complete team this year and should be able to hold their own against the Bucks. Even though I have the Bucks advancing from the first round, they haven't really been good at all this year. The Eagles, on the other hand, have been the best team in football all year, with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. Look for Hurts to take control of this game not only through the air, but especially on the ground. The Eagles' defense should be able to bottle up Tom Brady and their offense. The pass rush for the Eagles will get to Tom Brady and make him very uncomfortable as we see the Philadelphia Eagles advance to the NFC Championship game. In the other game, we have the 2nd seed 49ers taking on the 3rd seed Vikings. This is a game where I see one heck of an offense smashing up against one heck of a defense as the 49ers will try to slow down Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. My prediction for these playoffs is that the Vikings will be winning due to their high-powered offense and not really because of their defense. Now, I can see Christian McCaffrey trying to keep the 49ers in the game, as well as seeing Brock Purdy begin to struggle on this big stage, but I think that ultimately the passing game for the Vikings will reign supreme in this matchup as we see the Minnesota Vikings advance to the NFC Championship game. Now we have it, the NFC Championship game. The winner here also gets a ticket going to the Super Bowl, as we have the number 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles taking on the number 3 seed Minnesota Vikings. Until now, I have predicted the Vikings would be victorious due to them being able to overpower other teams with their offense. In this matchup, the Eagles have the defense to match up with the Vikings, as well as the offense of their own to just pummel the Vikings. Teams have struggled this season trying to find an answer for Jalen Hurts, including their matchup at the beginning of the season where Hurts had over 300 yards passing and over 40 yards rushing. I see the same thing happening in this game. It's just the Eagles should prove to be way too much for the Vikings as we see the Philadelphia Eagles advance to the Super Bowl. Now here's the game for all the marbles. In the Super Bowl, I predict the Philadelphia Eagles to take on the Buffalo Bills. On the defensive side of the ball, we have the 2nd-ranked defense in yards allowed versus the 6th-ranked defense in yards allowed. Both teams have a very good offense with a great number 1 wide receiver, a mobile quarterback, a very good number 2 wide receiver, and a serviceable running back. These two teams match up very well at all positions, with the exception of tight end, where I do see the Eagles having a clear advantage with Dallas Goedert. I see both defenses come into play here in what I believe will be a low-scoring game. There are sure to be some spectacular plays to be made by both Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen in this game. After careful consideration, I am going to pick the Buffalo Bills to be the Super Bowl champions for the first time in franchise history. The Bills currently have been to the Super Bowl 4 previous times in Super Bowl 25, 26, 27, and 28, which they lost all 4. I predict they finally get the job done in Super Bowl 57. Now, if you'd like to see my top 30 overall fantasy rankings way too early, just click here. It's a good video. We'll see you guys next time.